What's going on, everyone? So, JJ Redick had his introductory presser, and I thought it was fantastic. I thought he was very calculated in all of his answers, right? I don't think it didn't really sound like a salesman, right? Like, one of the things that I talked about, made a full breakdown over on As It Stands Lakers. So, if you want a full breakdown of the presser, go check it out over on that channel. But one of the things that I talked about, highlighted, was, Darvin Ham had a good presser, but it was like a salesman trying to sell you on this idea, where JJ, it just seemed like a guy that understands the situation and is just real and raw, right? And look, good pressers doesn't always translate to good coaching, right? Because like I said, Darvin Ham had a good presser, but JJ, I think, like, there are very few, if ever, that were as just good as his, because it wasn't just him, having the charisma and the confidence and him being able to navigate through the media, right? It was him and his ability to, again, answer each question head on, calculated, taking responsibility, understanding the situation, on top of understanding the expectations. And to me, that's great. Like, Darvin Ham just kind of seemed like, oh yeah, hey, I'm Lakers head coach. We're going to do this, that, and that. Where JJ talked about how there's going to be struggles and people need to buy in and we need to establish culture. Like, he really broke down in many ways the direction and vision, rather than just kind of in passing. Now, obviously, he didn't go to details on like roster and, play calling and stuff like that, because again, you got to figure all that stuff up depending on the roster. Lakers still have a lot of work to do. But just for giving you a general understanding of what to expect, I mean, you could tell this is clearly a new era, in my opinion. I really enjoyed everything that I saw from JJ Redick. Sure, some people are going to be like, of course you did. You really wanted JJ Redick. But again, just because I wanted JJ Redick doesn't mean, and that I like JJ Redick, doesn't mean that he was going to have a great presser and that he was going to answer each question in the manner in which he did. Right? He could have just as easily had a terrible presser. Because again, having press conferences don't translate to coaching. Right? Him having, in my opinion, about as good of a press conference as you can have doesn't necessarily mean he's going to be a great coach. But I do have confidence in him as a coach. He talked about how, look, players need to buy in. He can't lose the confidence of the players, right? Like, it doesn't matter what you want to do. It doesn't matter what the rotation. If the players aren't bought in, if the players aren't executing, then at the end of the day, it's irrelevant. Something that I've talked about heavily. But more than anything, and the thing that I want to talk about specifically in this video, is the culture and change that they talked about, right? He and Rob Pelinka both, so JJ and Rob both talked about how they really want to establish culture. They really want to create a system and an infrastructure, and they really want to build out, an actual development, right? They want to develop guys. Rob talked about how this new CBA is very hindering, right? Like, it limits you on what you can do. And so, yes, you need to build and establish a championship level roster. Both JJ and Rob acknowledged that. Right? JJ talked about, I know and am not oblivious to the understanding of what the expectations are. The expectations are winning championships, right? But we have this expectation that is higher than any other organization in the league, right? It's, if you haven't won a championship, you did nothing, right? Yeah, we made the conference finals. Yeah, we made the NBA finals. It doesn't matter. We didn't win a championship, and that is the ultimate goal. There are a lot of teams in this league that would love to make an NBA finals, that would love to make a conference finals, and are totally okay with that. That's not okay for the Lakers. But you have to build a roster good enough to be contenders and to compete. No, and that was talked about. That was highlighted. And JJ even talked about how even with the talent, you got to continue to improve as a group. You got to continue to get better. Get 1% at a time is a phrase that gets thrown out a lot, right? He didn't necessarily say that, but talked about how, hey, if we can improve each game, come playoffs, we should be in the conversation for a real contender. But again, you have to have the talent. But you also have to be able to start developing and establishing young players and cheap players, right? Like with the new CBA, you can't just, we'll just go into luxury tax and pay all this money and, we'll build a dynasty team, right? You can't do that anymore. The NBA is doing everything they can to keep parity in the NBA, right? They love that, the last, 6 years or whatever, there have been 6 different NBA champions. Right? Like, that's what the NBA wants. The NBA wants there to be this. They don't want the Warriors. They don't even want the Boston Celtics. Right? They want teams to where it's like, basically 1 through 8 have a real shot at winning in both conferences. Right? And so the way you stay atop, the way you stay afloat is you need to start you need to create one of the best development programs, one of the best just coaching staffs that there is. And that was something both of them really hit on, was that, JJ was very aware. I mean, he took it head on. Like, I don't have head coaching experience, right? I haven't coached on any level. Like, he wasn't like, no, he said, there's going to be learning curve. There's going to be, times where I'm going to have to navigate things, right? But you take it head on. You figure it out, you navigate it, right? Like, one of my favorite phrases is adapt and overcome. Probably heard me say it randomly here and there. To me, like, that's what it sounded like JJ was getting at. Sometimes you just got to adapt and overcome. You got to figure it out, right? There's going to be learning curves, but you also need to, like Rob and JJ both acknowledge, you got to put the infrastructure in. You got to get a coaching staff that can help JJ succeed. You got to get a roster that can help JJ succeed. I mean, look at Greg Popovich. He's considered one of, if not the greatest coaches in NBA history. And he's been coaching a bottom-feeding team the last handful of years. Why? Because he's a guy that, yes, as great and brilliant as he is as a head coach, he doesn't have the talent. So you got to balance out. You got to put talent and have a balance of young guys and pieces that you're growing and developing, along with the front-end talent to be good enough to compete and contend for championships. And that's something that I'm hoping that the Lakers really take serious and really start rounding out. Whether through the draft or trades or free agency, undrafted guys, right? Like, there's a lot of options out there. It's just finding the right pieces, finding the right guys that you're high on that you can grow, develop, and establish. So, at the end of the day, look, you got LeBron James and Anthony Davis. It's win now. It's go time, right? But we also want to set ourselves up, and Rob even said, like, winning championships in the short term and long term. It'd be, you put a championship team, let's say this year the Lakers win the championship. That'd be great, right? Like, JJ's first year, LeBron gets another one, AD get Lakers get number 18. Right, let's say we dominate this year. Let's say the Lakers put together a ridiculous team, we win the championship. If we don't win another championship for 20 years, then it doesn't matter. I mean, it still matters, but it's about being in the conversation regularly. You're not going to win every year. You're not going to there's going to be down years. There's going to be times where there's going to be 3-4 year stretches where Lakers are a play-in team or miss the playoffs or playing for the lottery or whatever. But it's about having the infrastructure to where those down years are not as long and not as frequent, right? To where, we don't have this 6-7 year stretch where we're basically getting top 2 picks every year, right? Those are, maybe 1 or 2 years and then Lakers are back because they're developing and growing young talent, right? But you do have LeBron James and Anthony Davis right now. So there is this pressure of like, hey, we have to contend and we have to build a competitive roster now, which I do believe that they need to do. And both parties, Rob and JJ, really do seem like they grasp and understand essentially what the assignment is, right? They all seem to know, like, okay, like, we have a clear directive. Like, let's hit on it. And so I'm excited. Like, genuinely. I'm genuinely excited to just see what this future holds. And hopefully they do properly round out not only a roster but build the foundation, right? Like, I do want to, like, that was the idea with Dan Hurley. You could still do that with JJ, right? Like, we need a standard and we need a culture that meets our expectations. Our expectations are championship year in and year out. We need a culture that is that. We don't want to be Heat culture. We don't want to be Warrior culture. We don't want to be any. We want to be the Lakers culture. We want to talk about Lakers culture. We want to establish that. But again, how do you feel? Whatever your thoughts are, as always, this is a discussion. Pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? First off, what did you think of JJ and his presser? Again, go check out As It Stands Lakers. I posted a video basically breaking down all of the kind of ins and outs of the presser. If you're interested in my thoughts on certain key points and whatnot, and also just kind of what was said. But again, how you feel? Love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. We enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.